Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother and sister, welcome back to Islamic Notes channel. A piece of news rocked the religious world. A renowned archbishop from Europe, Archbishop Thomas Benedict, announced his decision to convert to Islam. This announcement not only shocked the church and its congregation, but also attracted the world's attention. Many wondered, how could a high-ranking leader in the Catholic Church make such a big decision? Archbishop Thomas Benedict is a figure known for his wisdom and steadfastness in fighting for the values of faith and justice. However, his life journey was not always easy. There was one event that changed the direction of his life and made him a figure respected by many people. An unexpected spiritual journey. In the silence of the night, lit only by candlelight in the corner of his room, Archbishop Thomas Benedict sat in contemplation. The glory he once felt in his role as spiritual leader of a large diocese now felt empty. It was as if there was a calling he did not yet understand, something that asked him to step further into the deeper and more personal mysteries of faith. Since childhood, Thomas Benedict was a child full of sincerity in his search for God. He was born into a humble family in a small village in Scotland, where the beauty of nature seemed to whisper about the greatness of the Creator. His journey towards spiritual life began when he was a teenager, when he first entered the seminary with a heart full of enthusiasm. However, the spiritual journey is not always about serenity and confidence. After decades of serving as archbishop, Thomas began to feel restless. His trust in the institution of the church remained strong, but there was a voice in his heart that called him to seek God beyond the boundaries he had known so far. One day during his visit to a remote monastery in the mountains of Italy, he met an old monk named Brother Matteo. The monk led a simple life, far from the flamboyance of power and church protocol that Thomas was accustomed to. Brother Matteo spoke to him about life, faith, and the true meaning of service. Sometimes, Brother Matteo said in a gentle voice, God is not found in the splendor of a cathedral or in the loud voice of a sermon. He is in the whisper of the wind, in the look of a beggar, in the silence of an unspoken prayer. Those words struck Thomas's heart. He began to understand that there was a dimension of faith that he had not yet explored. He had been busy with church administration, speeches, and policies, but he had forgotten to experience God in silence and simplicity. With a troubled heart, he decided to travel alone, without the attributes of his greatness as an archbishop. He went to small villages, walked with farmers, helped them work in the fields, and prayed with the congregation who lived in simplicity. On this journey, he rediscovered the true meaning of service. One evening, in a small church that was almost crumbling, Thomas met an old woman who had come to pray. He asked her, "Why do you still come to this place even though the church is about to collapse?" She smiled and replied, "God does not live in these stone walls, but in the hearts of those who believe." Those words made Thomas cry. For the first time in his life, he felt God so close, closer than when he stood at the grand altar of his cathedral. After that long journey, Thomas returned to his diocese, but with a different heart. He began to change the way he led, getting closer to his people, listening to them, and living a simpler life. He understood that the spiritual journey is not about how high a position we reach, but how deeply we know God in our daily lives. And from that moment on, Archbishop Thomas Benedict no longer sought God in worldly splendor, but in a heart full of love and sincere service. Archbishop Thomas Benedict is a renowned theologian who has devoted his life to studying the scriptures, church teachings, and philosophy. Born into a devout Catholic family, he rose from a young priest to archbishop in a relatively short time. His deep understanding of Christian teachings made him a respected figure among Catholics. However, his spiritual journey took a major turn when he began to research the teachings of other religions. Initially, he tried to understand Islam to strengthen his theological arguments. However, the more he studied the Quran and Hadith, the more he found fundamental similarities with the values he had always believed in. He was amazed by the concept of Tawheed, the absolute oneness of God, and the moral teachings in Islam which he felt were very rational and in line with his conscience. A youth full of ambition, Thomas Benedict was born into a prominent family that had great influence in the world of politics and religion. Since he was young, he was known as someone who was intelligent and ambitious. His father wanted him to pursue a career in government, while his mother was more inclined for Thomas to study religion. The inner struggle between worldly ambition and spiritual calling always haunted him. After completing his education at the seminary, Thomas joined the church as a young priest. However, in his heart, there was still doubt about whether the path he was taking was truly in accordance with God's will. The event that changed everything. One day, Thomas was sent on a humanitarian mission to a remote village that was hit by war. When he arrived there, he saw incredible suffering. Children had lost their parents, the people were starving, and many houses had been destroyed by the conflict. He was devastated by the harsh reality. During one of his visits to a shelter for war victims, he met a little boy named Elias. The boy had lost both of his parents and was badly injured. However, even in deep sadness, Elias still smiled and thanked Thomas for the help he had given. The sincerity and steadfastness of the little boy touched Thomas's heart. That night, Thomas reflected on everything he had gone through. He realized that all this time he had thought more about himself than truly devoting himself to others. The incident opened his eyes and heart. He vowed that from then on, he would live his life to the fullest in serving others, not just pursuing personal ambitions. Transformation and devotion. After returning from the mission, Thomas became more active in helping the poor and oppressed. The changes in him were so obvious that he attracted the attention of many people, including church leaders. With his perseverance and devotion, he was eventually appointed archbishop. As archbishop, Thomas Benedict was not only a spiritual leader, but also a defender of the rights of the voiceless. He fought for justice for the oppressed, founded many schools and hospitals, and became a mediator in various conflicts. The decision to convert to Islam. A trip to the Middle East was a turning point for Archbishop Thomas. There he met many Muslim scholars who patiently answered his questions. He began to understand Islam not only from an academic perspective, but also as a living spiritual experience. On a quiet night in Medina, he felt an inner peace that he had never experienced before. Finally, after a long inner struggle, he declared the Shahada in a very simple but meaningful ceremony. He kept this decision for some time, considering the impact it would have on his congregation and the church family. After a long inner struggle, Thomas Benedict finally said the 2 sentences of the Shahada in private in front of a scholar he trusted. This decision was not an easy one. He realized that his decision would have major consequences in his life, both personally and socially. After officially becoming a Muslim, he chose a new name, Abdullah Benedict, as a symbol of his new obedience and loyalty to Allah. However, his decision faced many challenges, especially from the church and society, who had always considered him a role model. Challenges and trials. News of his conversion to Islam soon spread widely. Many of his church colleagues were disappointed and considered him to have betrayed the faith he had held for so long. He lost his position as archbishop and faced various pressures from those who disagreed with his choice. Some of his friends and family even cut ties with him. However, in the midst of these difficulties, Thomas Benedict found support from the Muslim community, who welcomed him with open arms. He began to learn more about Islam, starting from daily worship, Islamic laws, to learning Arabic to better understand the Quran in its original language. Church and world reaction. When the official announcement was made, reactions were mixed. The Catholic Church responded with shock and disappointment. Many felt the loss of a great leader, while others questioned the background of his decision. A number of conspiracy theories even emerged, ranging from alleged political pressure to unknown external influences. However, Archbishop Thomas stood by his decision. In an exclusive interview, he stated that his decision was based solely on personal conviction, not coercion or pressure from any party. He emphasized that his search for the truth had led him to Islam, and he hoped to live a more meaningful life in accordance with its new teachings. Reaction from the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church officially responded to the decision with concern. The Vatican emphasized that every individual has religious freedom, but they also regretted the decision of a religious leader who had been a role model for many people. Some church leaders felt that the decision could cause confusion and disappointment for the congregation who had always followed his teachings. In addition, several Catholic theologians tried to understand the factors that might have influenced Thomas Benedict's decision. Some have suggested the possibility of a spiritual crisis, personal pressure, or even the influence of the new environment he found himself in. However, the Church continues to call for prayers for Benedict so that he can find peace in his new faith. Response from the Christian community. Outside the Church, the Christian community also gave a variety of responses. Most people felt disappointed and saddened by the loss of a spiritual leader they respected. Some also felt that this decision could be used as a reflection to strengthen their understanding of their faith. However, there were also more moderate groups who accepted this decision as part of human rights. They emphasized the importance of respecting a person's choice of religion, even if it was difficult to accept. Reaction from Muslims. On the other hand, the Muslim community welcomed Thomas Benedict's decision. Many saw it as a sign of the truth of Islamic teachings, while others hoped that he could be a bridge in interfaith dialogue. Congratulations and support poured in from various Muslim groups who considered Benedict a new brother in Islam. Implications and reflections. Archbishop Thomas Benedict's conversion to Islam highlights how complex a person's spiritual journey can be. Such a decision not only impacts the individual concerned, but also the wider community. This is a reminder that faith is a deeply personal thing and can change over time. The Church and the Christian community may feel a sense of loss, but they are also faced with the challenge of deepening their faith. Meanwhile, Muslims have a responsibility to support Benedict on his new journey without using this event as a source of provocation or division. Conclusion. Reactions to Archbishop Thomas Benedict's conversion to Islam have shown a range of emotions, from disappointment, concern, to acceptance. This proves that religion remains a fundamental aspect of human life, bringing with it profound social and spiritual dynamics. Ultimately, a person's decision to choose a faith must be respected, while interfaith dialogue needs to be strengthened to create harmony in a pluralistic society. Origins revealed. Amidst the growing controversy, another surprising fact was revealed. In the process of his spiritual search, Thomas also dug deeper into his family's origins. He discovered that his ancestors were Muslims who converted to Christianity centuries ago due to political pressure in the past. This information further strengthened his belief that his life journey was part of a predetermined destiny. For Thomas, converting to Islam was not a betrayal of his past, but rather a homecoming. He now lives as a Muslim who actively preaches, bridges interfaith dialogue, and tries to spread a message of peace in society. New journey in Islam. After several years of living as a Muslim, Thomas began to be active in Dawah activities. With his extensive background in theology and comparative religion, he tried to explain Islam to people who still doubted or had misunderstandings about this teaching. He wrote books and held discussions with various groups to build a bridge of understanding between Islam and other religions. In addition, he also studied Sufism, a spiritual branch of Islam that teaches closeness and love for Allah. He found peace in dhikr and simple but profound worship. In this new journey, Thomas felt closer to God than ever before. The end of the journey and legacy. After years of preaching and living as a Muslim, Thomas Benedict, or Abdullah Benedict, passed away in a husnul khatimah state. His legacy as a former bishop who chose Islam is still remembered by many. His books and lectures continue to inspire those who are seeking the truth. His life story is proof that the search for truth is a journey that is not limited by religious or cultural barriers. Her courage in choosing the path she believed was right is an inspiration to many people who want to find true meaning in their lives. Conclusion. The story of Archbishop Thomas Benedict is an extraordinary journey of seeking truth and having the courage to follow his heart. Despite facing many challenges and rejections, he remained steadfast in his beliefs. His decision to convert to Islam is a reminder that spiritual pursuits are the right of every individual, and that truth can be found in unexpected ways. Thomas Benedict's spiritual journey is a story of sincerity in seeking truth and courage in living out the beliefs he believes are true. Islam is not just a religion that he studied, but also a way of life that gave him true peace and purpose. May his story continue to inspire many people to always seek the truth with a sincere heart.